Disclaimer. This podcast is for entertainment purposes only and should not be considered as facts. Nothing that is said about any person, organization, gaming company, or sport topic in general should be taken as facts, as well as any talk about any political, religious, or medical topics. As for medical topics, at all times you should speak to a licensed medical professional before any opinion is considered. Everything that is said on this podcast is opinion-based only. Viewers and listeners' discretion is advised.
Welcome to the DrVtach Show. This podcast is a long-form conversation hosted by DrVtach with the top guests in the world of esports. All from owners, pros, semi-pros, former pros, and content creators of many games. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the DrVtach Show. Well, today we have a revisit. I have a friend of mine back on the pod. He's an attorney, an esport attorney. Knows a lot of details, so legal details and stuff that he could give us some good insight about, the legal aspects of what's going on with DrDisrespect. Justin Jacobson, how you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for having me. Obviously, everything here is not intended as legal advice. It's all for educational entertainment purposes. But correct. I feel like we're always rumors of what happened, what was going on here. And, I may or may not have heard certain things. And, again, people talk all the time. So you can't really take anything that anyone is saying as fact or gospel because there's no way to prove any of it. And it's just, oh, well, that's interesting. And, you just kind of store it somewhere. But... I think, maybe just to give a little light, recently a former Twitch employee tweeted kind of a subtle tweet essentially saying that, DrDisrespect was, banned from Twitch mysteriously because he was, quote unquote, caught sexting a minor in the Twitch Whispers, which is their DM, and he was allegedly trying to meet up with her at TwitchCon. Again, we have various outlets reporting on, anonymous and unrevealed sources and tweets. And, there's all these people that were supposedly knowledgeable about what was going on, kind of speaking on it, but from, anonymity, not really disclosing who they are and really putting themselves out there, which obviously that's always a consideration. But, we had Bloomberg and The Verge and, most recently Rolling Stone magazine coming out with a pretty, detailed analysis that finally had a few names kind of confirming that they heard these rumors, right? We have the head of YouTube Gaming in the article saying this may or may not have impacted why they never gave him a deal, why they never really promoted him, why he was really on there, but he wasn't really a focal point when a lot of his other streamer colleagues were getting these huge deals. So then, there were rumors that Twitch was out to get him after he was banned from Twitch for the, the live streaming incident in 2020 at E3, where he live streamed from a restroom. And, that kind of, I think, got a little bit, supposedly, the internal people at Twitch were not thrilled with that. And there was the Doc witch hunt that ensued. So again, all this is hearsay, people talking, and who really knows what's fact. However, and I think we were talking about it before, DrDisrespect came out and made his own tweet, which, I think he edited a few times, initially taking out a word and then being called out for it and putting it back. And essentially where he admitted that he had sent, messages in 2017 to a minor that, he quotes sometimes lean too much in the direction of being inappropriate. And acknowledge that he never really should have entertained these conversations to begin with. So again, he says, and I think this will be kind of the first part of this, is that there was, no violations, no criminal offenses. He didn't send any, sexually explicit messages or photos or, potentially do anything that the law would deem illegal or criminal. So I think, that was essentially his point. And what he was trying to say was that he had this, what's called ADR, or Alternative Dispute Resolution, where he had a mediation or arbitration with Twitch regarding their contract, where essentially, I guess Twitch said you allegedly violated the terms by engaging in these conversations, so we're not going to pay you. And, I'm sure his argument on the other side during these confidential, arbitration mediation proceedings were, No, I didn't do anything wrong. Some girl asked me for a hint, and I said, I'll meet you at TwitchCon. Again, no one knows what the conversations are. But, paraphrasing what people are saying, again, it's what people are saying. And then what he's saying, right? They always say there's three stories. There's my story, your story, and then the truth. And it's usually somewhere mix of my story and your story, but we conveniently leave out different things or see stuff differently. So as a result of everything that was going on, you had a series of companies that were associated with him, from Midnight Society, the game development studio he co-owned, the 49ers that he had a partnership with, Turtle Beach that had official peripherals, and even NBA 2K, which he was an in-game earnable character. They're removing him. So and then recently they just demonetized his YouTube channel, where now he doesn't have any more paid subscribers. He doesn't have the ability to earn income from it. So, this is kind of really setting the stage. And, I always kind of look at, and, when I explain to people, right, there's the court of law and the court of public opinion. What's necessarily illegal and might be guilty in a court of law, that's not necessarily the same evidence or the same anything that, the court of public opinion, right? The internet, the media, the barbershop talk, me and you on Reddit. This is the court of public opinion nowadays, right? The chatter amongst the social media platforms and the pundits on radio and personalities and podcast hosters like yourself, talking about this stuff and, speculating on this and that and, really trying to figure out what's going on. So, I think it's one of these things where, originally this dispute went to, mediation, because if you went the other route of a court, it's public proceedings, there's all kinds of stuff. And beyond that, if we're talking about a minor and potentially, stuff that might, make her, the individual, feel uncomfortable or put her in an, kind of blast her out to the world, there's other, precautions and protocols that are in place for that stuff too. So the fact that, we're dealing with a minor in this incident adds a whole nother element of confidentiality and secrecy and, wanting to keep it out of the public eye, which, I'm sure most people would agree with that, whatever happened probably, had an impact on this girl, the individual that he was, messaging with. I'm sure she was at arbitration. I'm sure she was the center of a lot of these conversations with Twitch and everyone else. So to have that in a public court will just add a whole nother element. So I think that is one of those things that is why you kind of went that route, right? And realistically, I think Kevin Head had pointed out in an article today that, if there was enough criminal substance here, then Twitch, its employees, anyone else would have been obligated to report it under whatever applicable law, especially depending on what the age of minor versus, majority age. So all these things start to come into play, but, again, that's the court of law. So we turn to the court of public opinion where, if it looks and smells like it, you're guilty unless you could somehow prove that this never ever happened. Right. And, obviously, DrDisrespect himself stated something happened, right? And that he knew he, quote, should never have entertained the conversation. I think that goes to a bigger thing that I think we can kind of talk about is, shouldn't he just have been aware that there were just certain conversations just to avoid? And if he's been brought his attention that he's a minor, he's a married man, like, you probably don't need to have these kind of conversations, because what good can really come from them, right? And not saying that you shouldn't mentor and be involved and help the next generation and the youth, but if you're going to do it, you have to make sure that you don't ever get anywhere near the line that you're going to potentially cross, right? Like, there should never have said that I acknowledge that I lean too much inappropriate. Like, that should never have been a conversation that went past his mind, right? As someone who's a teacher with, college students interacting with, 18, 19-year-old individuals, there's a line that should never even be anywhere near it, right? If I'm talking about a situation, you should definitely never feel uncomfortable. And the person speaking it himself should never have felt like, oh yeah, well maybe I'm trying to push some agenda or like some kind of sexual innuendo or something, right? Again, we don't know what it said, but again, this is kind of part of the media training and understanding that you're a business and a professional, and that you really need to be super cognizant of who and what you say and how you're saying it, because even something you say in private and a message, a DM, look where we are now. Like, for all intents and purposes, he's probably over, right? You have every single brand dropping him. Now YouTube says you can't make money. Like, he was making millions of dollars. I think it was $10 to $15 million. I looked it up this morning. Like, wow. I'm sure he's not going to be making $10 million next year.
Yeah. My issue is that, first of all, did he knew that she was 17 when it first even began everything?
Well, the Rolling Stone article
some people
says
will say
that he was aware of the minor's age and then continued to engage.
Okay.
So that's what, again, Rolling Stone relying on hearsay and confirmation. And again, unless they've seen the chats and can verify that this is what happened, you have to, again, take everything with a grain of salt. But allegedly this is what the article said, that he was made aware of her age and still continued talking to her, potentially wanted to meet up with her in person. Again, not that there was anything necessarily nefarious, but again, you are opening yourself up to the court of public opinion, the PR, the optics of like, this just doesn't look right to anyone that knows you shouldn't be doing this.
Usually when you're trying to work out a deal with a minor or help out, for instance, anybody,
their parents should obviously be involved.
Exactly. The parents has to be involved, and they have to
guardian,
sign. My thing is, in all this, where are the parents? Why didn't the parents pursue any type of legal action against them?
I mean, I think that's what he kind of hung his hat on, was that he didn't do necessarily anything illegal, right? It's kind of this, I have one of these classes where it's kind of the difference between what's legal and ethical, right? There's something that might be necessarily illegal, like me going and punching you in the face, that's assault and battery, right? Me stealing your car and driving away with it, that's, theft. However, me saying, oh, F you, or cursing at you, or using a racial slur at someone, that's not necessarily illegal. It might be unethical and be a bad look and like not what a reputable lawyer does. However, I didn't break a law, right? There's no law that says you can't use the F word in public, right?
Correct.
Like, you might not be able to use it in PG-rated material, etc. But, if I was walking on the street and I just said, F you to someone, the police aren't going to be able to arrest me, right? Like, I didn't break a law. People might be like, oh, who's this guy that's just cursing out people? He's a bad guy. We don't like him. But again, that's more of this ethical court of public opinion. It's not a legal violation. So I think, to your point, if there was something that was, and that's kind of what he said, he didn't send anything illegal. There was no, images. There was no, sexual messages is what he said. And, because you're not really doing any of these things, that might not raise to a criminal violation, right? It might not be a legal violation. Again, the court of public opinion, the court of, the social media judges and jury, they don't necessarily feel the same way. And again, they don't have to uphold certain, legal standards. The fact that you were talking with a 17-year-old and you made a "that's what she said" joke, like, that could be enough, right? Something that, like, is borderline inappropriate, that, like, you probably don't need to say, and that you were trying to be, like, funny, flirty, whatever, right? Like, that's where I think some of this comes in. And it's like, I work with entertainers and celebrities and these influential people all the time. And, like, what kind of power you have over people. That this random person is messaging you and you can handle it however you want. Right? That joke about all these celebrities and whatever, everyone sliding in their DMs, like all these, reality house guy, like reality stars on Bravo and whatever. It's like once they get on one of these shows, they have 30 different girls DMing them every single day of the week, like, oh, I love you, come hang out. And it's like, you know.
Yeah.
It's
My thing is, how did Twitch found out? Now, unless she would have like said, "Hey, listen, I'm starting to feel uncomfortable. I want to report it to you guys."
They said that, you know, they have the ability to monitor it, and, you know, I guess what this employee was saying, again, this is all hearsay from potentially employees, that after this incident with, you know, the bathroom, they were really out to get him. Maybe they were just monitoring him and just, you know, they have the ability to see what's going on their platform, right? Like the quote unquote whispers or direct messages, those necessarily aren't private to a Twitch person, right? Like they may be private to those two people, but if you work at Twitch, I'm sure you can access everything, right? You could probably see every single message and comment I've made, every single, you know, stream I've watched and for how long. Like I'm sure there's a whole bunch of back-end analytics that we never know about. So,
but isn't it illegal for them to look at your private messages?
I mean, it's
like
not necessarily
like it's like a privacy.
Well, I mean, you know, so if you go into the idea of an expectation of privacy, I'm sure the terms of service say, "Hey, we own everything," and you don't have an expectation of privacy while using this, right? It's not like they're in your house reading your mail or like hacking your phone where you might have this expectation. It's like you're using their platform and you're sending these messages. So as a result, they probably need a legal authority or the right to monitor it for this exact reason, right? Like we need to be able to look at messages if somebody alerts us or if we think there's something. So again, I didn't read the Twitch terms of service, but I'm sure you agree that they can access your account and do whatever they want, really.
It's probably on the fine print.
Yeah, exactly. Nobody reads the fine print. You just click
Nobody
accept.
reads it. Yeah. That is really, 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 really crazy. Because there's, like you said, there's speculation. A lot of rumors are going around. You know, you got some that defend them and say, well, she was out for the money, but what money? She's not the one that, you know, came out to
like
sue
this guy
him.
is ruined. So like
right now,
he ain't gonna get any money if the guy doesn't, you know, was dropped from everything and it's just canceled.
Yeah.
So, you know,
and
I think
allegedly
obviously
these former employees were out to get him due to the bathroom incident. So, you know, I just like kind of don't know, 'cause I'm listening and reading so much stuff. But what he did was wrong. I mean, you know, it doesn't matter, you know, if I'm going to be really honest. I don't care the age. You got to conduct yourself professional to any woman, to any age.
to
and
anyone,
if they're a minor,
really, just anyone.
I mean,
like
you got to like, I need
you
to
shouldn't be
speak to your
cursing out
parent.
people. Like you
Yeah.
should just be a professional. Understand that this is your profession and that you need to carry yourself like that, because when you don't, you put yourself in these situations where, you know, DrDisrespect to me is one of the most recognizable people in this industry. Like he was doing it at a really, really high level. But as we see, you know, the same poison that a lot of other people fell for, he fell for, you know, and especially in this world, today's entertainment and media space with, you know, Harvey Weinstein and the Me Too movement and now Diddy, this is a very, very sensitive time. And, you know, people are not tolerating anything, and they shouldn't, you know, and ultimately I think that's kind of, you know, to echo your point, like you should know that you have everything to lose. And when you have everything to lose, you have to operate differently than someone who doesn't, right? Like, and when you're at the pinnacle of where you are, like, you know, 2017, when he's like the top of the spectrum, you know, still 3 or 4 years ahead of everyone else that's come since, like, you are one of the targets at this stuff, right? You're like up there, it's like you, Ninja Shroud, like the people that were just defining this, Pokimane, Valkyrie, like these are like the people that were just there. And, you know, when you're there, you got to know that you have to be super, super careful of everything. You have to never even put yourself in a position where you could potentially be interacted, right? Like, I'm sure he gets a zillion whispers all the time, right? How many people are trying to DM or whatever these celebrity people? So it's just kind of like, you just, you know, and if you can't control yourself, then don't monitor your stuff, right? I know of a lot of celebrities where they don't even have the social media stuff on their phone. Their managers and agents and labels and whatever, they do that stuff. That it's just better for their business to not have, you know, 2 million people that they could say something to whenever they want, or mistakenly click live when they shouldn't have, right? Like,
or says something that they shouldn't have jeopardized them.
exactly.
Even in court.
Then the Twitch thing that changes it a little bit, because when you're live on stream for hours and end, things could happen, So you just have to think, right? And this is a sad lesson that I think everyone needs to learn, is that you just have to be so cognizant of what you do and what you say. And you have to, even if there was nothing necessarily, you didn't mean for it, you weren't trying to do it and just became what it is, try to avoid these situations. Make sure that you don't put yourself in a situation where something can be read or interpreted the wrong way. And especially when have a lot to lose and you're at this, pinnacle of your industry, an industry leader, you have even more to lose. So
now, question, can he sue the former employee for defamation for bringing that out in the light like that?
So this is where things start to get a little bit interesting. Obviously defamation is if a claim is false. Correct. So again, you have to be able to prove, with whatever you had, that the statement was false. And then beyond that, it's like, is the juice worth the squeeze? Like, is the person you're suing even going to be worth anything, right? Like, if you're pretty much judgment proof and they have what's the point of spending all this money to go through it and to get a judgment that's never really going to get paid? To send the message, maybe. But again, we don't necessarily know what the terms of confidentiality is, what the non-disclosure, what happened. So there's a lot of factors that go into this. If I was this person's lawyer, I probably would never have told them to say anything, and that it's probably not in your best interest to, draw the attention of a multimillionaire who now has nothing to lose. But
now he's gonna be. Of course he's upset. My thing is that now, if that former employee does not have any type of evidence to back up his claim, because he's no longer with Twitch, so how he's gonna prove his theory? This is why some big content creators were stating out, release the whisper, release the
tweets.
Release it. Yeah, release what was said and let the public, kind of judge it for itself. I don't know if that's recommendable to do, but because right now DrDisrespect is really in a bad state. And he got what he deserved, because honestly, he shouldn't be talking to minors. He should have been talking to the parents first of all. But
he shouldn't be talking to anyone on any of this stuff, first off. Yeah. His managers and agents should be the only one talking to anyone about anything regarding him. Wow. Because he needs to have that buffer. When you're that, of a certain level, a certain caliber, you need to have this built-in professional buffer to protect you and to make sure that you aren't put in these compromising situations, because whether you want to be in it or not, we got to save you from yourself sometimes.
Yeah. People get emotional. They'll say a bad word to somebody, or...
Well, yeah, they'll just say a joke that they're trying to be funny, and it's like, maybe you and your friends that you know for a long time joking might be one thing, but you never know. So it's definitely a situation you try to avoid, and, as entertainer in town and gamers and everyone out there, you just need to make sure that you don't even put yourself in a potential situation where you could have anyone implicate or say anything otherwise, right? I know of certain lawyers and people that won't have meetings with, certain people without another person in there, or without the door open, or
correct.
They're not going to have a certain meeting with someone without having their secretary or another witness there or another employee there.
I totally agree with that.
There's precautions you can
in the
bring
medical field. There's always a third person in that room with a patient.
Right, especially if you're examining, certain areas that might be more private.
Yeah, especially, I work in EKG. We're putting, I don't do it. We don't on my field now. We don't do that now. The nurses do, we plug in the telly on the patient, and you got to put the electrodes on their body. It's always, you got to indicate the patient, okay, I'm going to put this on your left arm, and there is another nurse in the room with you, and this is going to go in your, are you okay with that? To clear everything. So, I mean, you're totally right. He should have talked to somebody. He should have had his lawyers, his agents take care of it if she needs to.
If she really wanted some advice and wanted to have her as the mentor or whatever the story is, you got to go through the proper channels. Like you said, parents, legal guardians, you hire these business managers and agents for a reason. You give them a cut of your money. Like, these should be the situations, dealing with the public when you're interacting with them. There's no reason that you should be answering your DMs. I'm sorry, you really shouldn't.
Now, question. There was somebody that said something that I kind of found interesting. In certain states that have different laws in certain countries, I don't know what's the legal age in Canada. I think it's probably 17 and above. I don't know. That's somebody stated that. If she was from Canada, will it still make a difference?
I mean, obviously, that was one of those things where, the jurisdiction of, obviously, if it was across Canada and America, that would be an international thing. So that would add a whole nother element to it. But yeah, certain states, depending on what the age of majority and minority are, most states it's 18. Then again, you also have to see where, he's located. Obviously, I think he's in California. Twitch is in California. And then we don't necessarily know where, the individual minor is located. So all these things might come into effect if you're looking from, the criminal thing. If there was some criminal conduct that they were able to identify, which it doesn't sound like there was. Again, we don't know. But you would assume that if, he sent some sexually explicit things or some really, pornographic kind of messages, then that would have been an actionable crime. There would have been some criminal investigation that it doesn't seem to have been. Again, this is all speculation. Like, I want everyone to know that, like, I don't know anything that you guys don't know. Like, I only see the articles and the tweets. And again, none of this stuff will be admissible in court. It's all hearsay. It's, you have phantom accounts tweeting and sending out emails and saying, this is real, I'm going to delete it. And you have big publications having quotes from people who want to remain anonymous. So it's like, I get it, they're scared for repercussions, but again, how can you really take you don't really know, because there's just too much uncertainty around everything.
I'm sure.
But again, where there's smoke, there's fire, right? Like, this all wouldn't be happening, and he wouldn't have made a statement saying that he did speak inappropriately to a minor, right? Like, I don't think anyone is debating that.
Nobody's debating that.
But that might not necessarily be illegal. It's a faux pas, and it's an unethical thing, and it's irresponsible, and it's gross and negligent, and, it's all these other things, whatever verb you want to use. But again, it didn't necessarily, from, what we've been able to ascertain, it didn't cross to be an illegal action that would have subjected him to criminal liability, right? That's what we've gathered from what we've been able to learn.
See, my thing is that Twitch has their group of lawyers. I'm sure they took a really deep look into it. They saw the messages, and I don't know. I think probably later on, I don't know if it's convenient for Twitch to do that, to release those messages out for the public.
I mean, it might jeopardize the confidentiality of, maybe not necessarily him, because we all know he's involved, but nobody has once mentioned or hinted at anything regarding the individual he was speaking with. So I don't know if that
probably since she's a minor, she has to be protected as well.
Exactly. So that's why I'm saying, I don't even know if that would be something that you would think about. And what's, like, I think the point you were bringing up, it's like, if Twitch's attorneys, who are Amazon, work for Amazon, this mega billion-dollar company, if they vetted and went through all of this stuff, I don't believe that if there was some criminal actionable matters, that they would jeopardize Amazon to not report it over, the fear of a doctor disrespect, whatever. Again, I don't know, but I would just be shocked if there was, a level of criminal culpability in the statements, and then the Amazon Twitch lawyers would just be like, yeah, no, we're just not going to report it, right? Like to me, I would be shocked if that was the case, right? Like if they, like you said, obviously the internal individuals and probably outside counsel reviewed all the correspondence and came to their own analysis, and if they recommended that this is something that would be criminal liability and that they need to report it to the police,
then I'm sure they would have done that.
Yeah, I mean, again, we can't speculate because we don't know.
We don't know. It's allegedly.
But
we don't know.
It would be very, very shocking that they wouldn't do that, right? Because they don't have anything to gain, and if anything, they could potentially be liable.
For
having this knowledge and not disclosing it. So, even more so, they would have an incentive to, flesh.
Yeah, because the parents of the minor could also sue
Twitch
for not reporting it.
Exactly, and not protecting the minor and all that stuff. So I think, again, like you said, if they're reviewing all this stuff, if they felt that it came to the level where they need to report it to the authorities, they probably would have.
They probably would have. Because there was something interesting. I think he tried to, soften down the tone by saying, I got paid.
Twitch by trying to say that, I wasn't wrong.
I wasn't wrong.
That I didn't necessarily violate the agreement.
I'm like, dude, no. You're trying to just
Well, again, that's the legal versus ethical, right? He legally was not found to be wrong, so they had to pay him. But ethically, he was clearly wrong. And as a result, the world has shown, the market has shown that, we're not interested in you anymore. Goodbye.
Yeah. Didn't he just got off of some type of situation? He cheated on his wife or something like that, allegedly.
I think there was some stuff that a few years ago, I think, again,
it's like
I don't want to this is not meant to be a bashing of this, person. I don't know this person. I was at the event he held at NFT NYC, maybe it was 2012 at the Polygon Studios. I didn't stay long enough to meet him. My time's too valuable to wait around to meet him. But it was a cool space. And, that was the launch of the Midnight Society game. But, again, as someone who deals with entertainers and, can't say I may not have, not going to say similar situations, but, there's situations that happen all the time where, whether you're working with the individual who might have gotten potentially, on the other side of it, or the talent who might have done or said something or whatever that they maybe shouldn't have, it's just kind of you got to know better. You just have to know better that you have everything to lose and really nothing to gain, right? And I think that's the sad part about this, is that when you're at that level, are you really doing it because you need to get girls, or you don't have enough attention?
Yeah.
You walk down the street and people are dressing up as you. When I was waiting online for this event, there were way too many people dressed as DrDisrespect than it should have been at New York NYC NFT event. So you have people that are literally dressing like you, buying, wigs to look like you and whatever. You're good. You really have nothing to gain, and as we see, everything to lose, and it kind of looks like you're losing most everything.
Correct. I think a lot of times when these people that are in this type of situation that think they're indispensable, that nothing's going to happen to them, they have millions in the bank account, so I could get away with anything. I could just pay off this person. I don't know, whatever. But they forget exactly what you said. They got tons to lose. My concern, and I feel bad for his children, they have no involvement in this and his family. Because it could lead to them getting bullied at school. You know,
no, it's
children are
horrible.
gonna start.
They're
You know,
the collateral damage that.
exactly. That's what I like right there. That's the part that hurts me. I don't want that to happen because they don't deserve it. They're unaware what their father is doing. On
And this was in 2017.
online.
Talking about 7 years ago.
Yeah.
6, 7 years ago already. I don't know how old his kids are, but they can't be that much older than that.
Correct. Wow.
So
I just
yeah,
wow.
I mean, it's a shame, and that
It's
we
a
really have nothing
big
else
change.
left to say other than like, this is a very unfortunate situation. It's terrible for everyone involved. Like you said, his family, everyone that's livelihood was associated with them. Like, how good is Midnight Society really gonna do without DrDisrespect pushing it and making it a thing? Like, let's call it like it is. Like, you might as well.
Change the name and
No,
do
you might as well
something
put a
else.
pin in it because it's done. But I mean, I
Yeah.
didn't say that. But but like the point is that like when you're associated with this public figure and that's kind of your big sticking point, right? Like, this is DrDisrespect's game that this super guy is building and implementing and whatever. And now he's like this disgraced guy that you can't even be associated with.
Oh God.
It's
He lost all of his friends.
yeah, it's over. It's problematic.
It's
So I
done and
mean,
over. He just better off. And he stated at the end of his tweet that he's gonna come back, and he says they can't take me away or whatever. But right now, YouTube just I think they paused the.
yeah, and took his monetization off, so he's not going to be making money off subscribers and donations and all that kind of money through there. But
Well, can he still stream on there, or you just
it
can't?
sounded like it doesn't sound like they took down his account because again, like he didn't like put up right. It's not like he put up infringing stuff that violates it, right? Like if he had maybe done it on YouTube, right? If he would have been messaging on YouTube this
Ooh.
thing, then they might have had the ability
Yeah.
to do it. But again, it was just more of I don't know, like you're not kind of part of this anymore.
Wow. Yeah, because YouTube's kind of like, okay, I don't want to be involved.
Well, yeah, so like no, like you're not making money off our platform, kind of
Yeah,
thing.
you're not gonna make money off our problem because we don't agree what you did. It's
Yeah,
totally
like you're not,
wrong.
we're not gonna delete your account because maybe they'll give you grounds to sue us, whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
But we're gonna make it so you're not making money off of it. So what is the point of it for you,
Jeez.
right? And if he starts doing stuff that violates terms of service, boom, goodbye. So yeah, I mean, again, I think that's really the thing to bring it towards the end for all the listeners out there, people that are really kind of feeling and looking at this situation. It's like it's a sad
serious,
situation,
yeah.
and it's something that could have very easily been avoided and probably should never have happened. Because again, there's nothing to gain from engaging with an individual, and especially once you're told that they're a minor, you should. I'm not saying you necessarily have to run the other way, but you need to make sure that you conduct yourself of a level of respectability and professionalism that you supposedly have or that should be associated with someone of your stature. And if you
Correct.
don't want to believe that and you don't want to think that you're this public figure or this role model or that what you do matters, then you need to change the profession you're in. Because as long as you're putting yourself out there, the law says if you thrust yourself into the limelight, if you do things to put the spotlight on you, you are now a public figure. And as a public figure, you have certain expectations. And again, what you do might not necessarily be a violation of the law. But again, the court of public opinion has no, the jury and the judges on the internet, they don't care about the evidence. They don't care about what you thought you were doing. They have no mercy. So
Yeah, they don't. They're gonna come at you no matter what.
If it smells like something, it's something. And unless you could disclose the messages and show that you didn't say one bad thing, which I'm sure they're confidential and they're never going to get disclosed because maybe there's some
It could make it
sensitive
worse or
information. Like,
something.
they're just not going to happen. It's probably part of the big settlement. So
Yeah.
everyone,
I think
be smart.
yeah, because it's not that it's only gonna damage or ruin DrDisrespect, but it could also put a real hurt to Twitch for releasing that. So I kind of highly doubt it they're gonna release it I don't know. I mean, you got to look at it, on both perspective and both eyes. Okay, Twitch, and then you got disrespect on one side.
And you also have the individual. I think that's really the biggest
And the
consideration
individual,
here.
the minor, yeah.
And because once her information gets out, you have no idea how things can turn.
I heard somebody said that, the reason why they don't bring up her name, they don't, they keep it like very in the closet, not mention it because it's for her protection.
Yeah.
Because you got some crazy freaks out there that are just very loyal
that are going
to
to be able
disrespect.
to figure out where her address is and her for social
and
media
they're gonna
and
start
blast
making
it.
threats and they can't, so she's has to be protected. And the other thing, she's a minor. So
she was a minor then. I'm sure she's of age now, but hopefully, right? Because
allegedly,
7 years ago she was not still of age, I'm supposed to be like 12 years old. So I don't
allegedly, there was a some type of report came out in some email from another former employee that she was 17, going on 18, etc. And then allegedly said that that there was no sexting. Yeah, something like that. So. Like I said, I always say allegedly. People say, "Well, why do you say allegedly?" Well, that's my protection.
Because we never seen it. So
I've never seen it. There's no evidence. I don't know if that's even true. I don't know if that's even from an employee, former employee. I don't know.
The only evidence is DrDisrespect's statement. Everything else is hearsay based on unsubstantiated quotes and sources. So, but again, if you read his statement, he confirms enough of it. That it's it's a problem, and I think that was kind of why you saw all of these entities, Take Two, NFL team, Turtle Beach, like all
49ers, the NFL team, they also
all of them taking action that like whatever it is, like we can't be anywhere near associated with it. So that's the lesson. You have too much to lose when you get to that level, and just remember that. What you say can and will be used against you.
Now, can you explain to our listeners more in detail about what hearsay means? Because they might hear that a lot in court.
So the idea of hearsay is that essentially it's not firsthand evidence. So something is considered hearsay if it's like, oh, Justin told me that you stole the T-shirt from the store. That's hearsay because someone else told you it, right? So if I say, hey, I stole this shirt from the store, that is, again, if you tell someone else, it's like, oh, Justin told me this, they need to hear it from me, or else it's from you is like hearsay. So essentially why we're talking about hearsay in this context is that these individuals are saying that this is what happened. So there's no way to substantiate it because again, the minor isn't going to talk. We're not going to probably be able to see what was actually said. And again, DrDisrespect, the other party, has kind of said what he's going to say. And again, we've seen the idea that we don't know necessarily what the truth is, and we're probably never going to know. Yeah. And that's why everything is kind of hearsay, because it's all based on, secondhand accounts and somebody saying something. Even the reports, the Bloomberg and Verge and Rolling Stone was like an anonymous source at Twitch. That's hearsay because they're telling you what was said. They're not being like, oh, here's the document or here's the internal email. Then that's not hearsay, right? That's actual valid evidence.
Mm-hmm. Wow. This is crazy. I am sure that now a lot of these content creator, big ones, big names, are like, okay, let me just double check.
Yeah, like what girl did I get a little bit too aggressive with?
Yeah. What happened if somebody was tweeting or whatever, messaging, and doesn't know the age, and then all of a sudden say, hey, well, I'm a minor, and it's like, whoa, well, you never said that in the beginning. We were being flirtatious, and then now all of a sudden you're telling me this.
These are strict liability crimes. You don't have to intend to do it. This stuff's very, very tricky. Again, back to my earlier advice. do not put yourself in a situation where anything could even potentially be. Like, you shouldn't be engaging with your fans in that way. I'm sorry.
Correct.
Like, your social media account should not be your way to pick up girls or to date. It just shouldn't.
It shouldn't,
you know,
yeah.
I get it. Like, who am I to say whatever? But, you know, you never know who's messaging the other side, right? How do you know that that picture is them? Like, they could tell you that they're 22 and they go to this school, but, like, how do you know, right? Like,
How do you
I
really
go
know?
back to, you know, the Netflix documentary, our man Manta Teo, right? Like, is Manta Teo. Like, I don't know how, you know, the age bracket of your listeners, but, like, this dude was, you know, legitimately thought he had a girlfriend that never existed.
Wow.
Like, you have to watch this Netflix documentary.
I never seen that. What?
Oh,
really?
you have to. It's like The Invisible Girlfriend. You know who Manta Teo is, right? He was Notre Dame. No. He was like in, you know, Heisman Trophy running, like beast linebacker. They were like number 2 in the country or whatever when he was there. And he had this mysterious girlfriend. And it turns out it was just this guy that was posing as this, found this random girl he went to high school with, put up the picture, and had this relationship via message. And, you know, Mateo never met her, never whatever. Like, I'm not going to go and spoil the whole thing, but it was literally like he had this relationship with someone that never even existed. That was literally a picture of some random person. You know, the whole idea of catfish. So, again, you as an influencer, a creator, a celebrity, you have everything to lose. You know, you as Manta Teo, you know, huge NFL prospect, you have everything to lose. And this all came out that it was a hoax, and, you know, it was a disaster. I actually knew NFL players that, you know, play with him on the Chargers, and they were like, yo, they used to make fun of him in the locker room all the time about it. And, like, you know, he used to take it in jest and, like, haha, laugh it off. But, like, you know, he's not in the NFL anymore, and he never made an impact in the NFL. I'm sure that it got in his head and just disrupted everything. So it's, you know, again, you have nothing to gain. And, you know, really, as you see with DrDisrespect, everything to lose.
Yeah, so, yeah, you got to be very careful. And like you said, you know, just keep everything professional. And before you start talking to anyone, first of all, don't use.
Yeah, first off, there should be no reason that you should be messaging with random people. Like, anyone that's reaching out to you for your business account should be directed to your business personnel. You should not be having, you know, personal conversations with people you don't know on the internet when you're at that level. Again, who am I to say that? I'm just a guy. But when you're making millions of dollars doing this stuff, there are different rules that apply to you.
Yeah.
You know, you have to be super, super cognizant of what you say and how you say it and who you say it to. And until, you know, gamers and influencers and creators realize it the same way traditional celebrities have, we're going to have this happen.
That's why you have an agent. I mean, once you're that big, you know, usually you're up to the millions, and you already have an agent, you got your sponsors, you got your people, you got your attorney. You know, they should be doing everything for you. That's why you pay them for. Let them handle those emails. Let them handle, you know, you should be associating yourself with, because you just don't know.
You know, the earlier you realize that you don't have something to gain and everything to lose, you'll be able to operate, you know, much more efficiently and in a much more intelligent fashion.
Yeah. Now, Justin, you got a book. Tell all these content creators that may be listening and fans around the world, what's the book about and where they could find it?
So The Essential Guide to the Business and Law of Esports and Professional Video Gaming, you know, #ad. So it's a book that kind of looks at different legal and business aspects of the esports and professional gaming world for gamers, streamers, content creators, coaches, casters, you know, teams, event operators, and really all the different main stakeholders in the space, looking at contracts and copyrights and trademarks and visas and business and LLCs and tax matters and social media disclosures and music licensing and just a lot of really important things that, creators and individuals and gamers should be aware of. And it's available everywhere books are sold: Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Routledge. You can get it as a hard copy or a soft copy, or a digital Kindle copy. So the soft copy is probably the price point that works. The hard copy is a little pricey, but if you want something tangible and nice, go for that one.
There you go. Thank you. Well, also, Justin, let everybody know where they can find you.
Yeah, so everyone make sure to check me out on Twitter, JustinJESQ, and check my website, jmjesq.com, for different articles and kind of all the other stuff I'm involved in.
Okay, well, there you have it, folks. Justin, thank you so much. Oh, just one more thing. I just had one of my friends just message me and ask me this question. Do you see, can you see Disrespect going to jail for this?
Again, this, from what it seems, doesn't seem like he committed a legal violation or crime. Again, It's more of this unethical, it's a faux pas for, a middle-aged man to be talking with a minor, and it's even worse if you start talking about sexually explicit or inappropriate things, and asking about meeting up with them. So again, it doesn't seem, based on what we know, that he committed a crime that violates a law, so there would be no reason why he would go to jail. Correct. But again, we only know what he said in his statement, and then we have a bunch of articles with, uncited inside sources.
Justin, thank you so much for coming on, and I truly appreciate it. Thank you. You're a really good guy, good friend. Everybody, please follow him on his socials and get his book. You're going to learn so much, and trust me, you're going to like it. Justin, thank you for coming on, man.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me, and, have a great day, everyone. Be smart.
Thank you for listening to the DrVtach Show, and don't forget to click follow.